Greetings, nerds. This is SNN Nerd. I'm your host, Sarah Belmont, and with me, as always, is our Mr. Producer, Will Polk. How are you doing tonight? How are you doing today, Will?
Yeah, today I know we're doing a rare Sunday podcast recording here, but doing well this afternoon, my time.
Yeah, it's morning my time still.
Yeah, yeah. I know we had planned to do a weekend podcast recording. I know we were going back and forth as far as how we were going to do it today, but I think we have decided doing the spoiler review for the Suicide Squad instead of doing a watch along. I think was the right call for us.
Yeah, we wanted to take a full hiatus, and then DC decided to drop a movie over the weekend, and we're like, oh, we might as well cover it. And all these shows are coming back next week. I mean, what do we have going on this week? We have the premiere of Stargirl Season 2, Titans Season 3, Whatif, and the penultimate episode of Superman and Lois. So yeah, to tack on a movie review on top of that would be crazy.
Yeah. So we'll have a good, clean Marvel and DC TV show later this week, but yeah, we'll address the Suicide Squad after we talk about some of the headlines from this week.
Yeah, the biggest headline was that Cobra Kai star Xolo will star as the Blue Beetle for HBO Max, which is very exciting. And on top of that, Cobra Kai Season 4 is going to premiere this December. Yeah,
that was exciting news on both counts. I know there was, I guess, with the Blue Beetle, I think we had talked about this earlier this year or maybe last year with that particular project where they were definitely going the route of the third Blue Beetle, which is Jamie Reyes, and Xolo is going to be cast as him. And yeah, I think it's going to be a live action film on HBO Max, which I think they are building up their movie slate, with this, and then also Batgirl as well as another live action DC film on HBO Max. So yeah, very excited to hear that, and just seeing his work from Cobra Kai. I think he's definitely got the chops to be a leading character for to carry a feature film.
Yeah, he definitely is the standout kid actor on that show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really think any of the other kid actors do nearly as well of a job. A lot of it's more melodramatic, but he's really the heart of that show.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy to see him get some more attention and more characters under his belt. I am very concerned about this whole HBO Max movie DC slate, because all I can think about is, remember when Marvel tried to have all of these shows on Netflix?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like their own microcosm world, and then the Defenders happened, and that fell apart real quickly.
Yeah. Very true. But yeah, but honestly, at this rate, given DC's track record with the DCEU, maybe it's better for them to go this route with the direct to streaming live action films, because if they give it the care that they've done with their streaming DC TV shows, then I think they will finally hit their niche as far as these live action shows with or movies with some of these characters. And maybe it's better that they start hitting into some of the deeper bench of DC characters instead of just focusing on the on the tentpole characters, the Trinity, as far as Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman.
Right.
And I think they're starting to do that even now with the the theatrical releases, with when you look at Black Adam and Shazam, and Suicide Squad. So I think those films, for better or worse, at least have been a little bit better than some of the other DCEU films, or the Snyderverse in particular. So, maybe this will give them a opportunity to really have good films on the streaming platform, and of course, give obviously, I think with the we'll probably learn more about this with at the DC Fandom later this year, how they're going to integrate all these properties into the multiverse, because I know Walter Hamada mentioned that at the last Fandom last year, as far as they're really going to go deep. They're going to go deep in the multiverse with this, and so I think there's a lot of great possibilities there for DC to explore, and maybe going to streaming routes the better way to go.
Yeah, like I'm not mad about the streaming. I'm very much all for movies being on streaming services. I mean, James Gunn put out a good tweet, or had a good quote go around over the weekend about how movies last longer and live on longer, have greater lifespans, not because they're shown in cinemas, but because they're shown on television.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I mean, generations will be watching these movies on the TV. They won't be able to watch it in theaters. Right. So I'm all for that and streaming services. I still don't really, I don't have as much trust as you do in DC and Warner Brothers. Because I just wonder, I don't like how it feels everything is so disconnected. And I think this kind of stuff really works when it's more connected, but like you said, we'll learn more details about everything come the Fandom event, which I think is going to be next month.
October. Yeah.
2 months from now.
Yeah.
Anyways, the other things that are going on this week, or went on this week, is Lord of the Rings season is coming to Amazon. We saw a picture. It looks like a picture straight from the movie.
Yeah, but it did look like a straight from the movie. But apparently, this series is actually going to be set 1,000 years before the events from Tolkien's Hobbit and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
So
it's a prequel.
Yeah, it's going to be a prequel. So we'll probably, but the thing is, obviously they're going to have to tie it to the Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see Galadriel or Elrond or other immortals from as far as the elves show up, because there's got to be some tie-in to the I guess this is the second age of Middle Earth. So they'll have to be some tie-ins to the to what we've seen to date in live action.
Yeah. No, I think so. I haven't watched those movies in forever, though. I remember watching them. I really liked the second one. The third one had way too many endings.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
But and then I remember watching the first one and not really understanding how they're sequels. I was like, wait, they just started walking. How is this over?
Did you ever read the books?
No.
Or
no? God,
okay.
No.
Yeah. I read them years ago when I was a teenager. But whenever the Peter Jackson films did come out, I did go back and reread the books. But not to be that guy who'd be like, well, they didn't put that in the film or whatever. But it was just more like, oh, let me just revisit this universe, because those films are just so well done. Yeah.
No, it was, I believe it was 2001, 2002, and 2003.
Yeah. Sounds about right. Yeah.
20 years ago.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then for some reason you want to bring this up because of Star Trek. So
yeah.
Who the hell is Mike Richards? Because Will wants LeVar Burton.
Yes, I want LeVar Burton to be the host of Jeopardy, and I know a lot of people do. And yeah, so obviously sadly we lost Alex Trebek to cancer, and and of course they've been doing this rotating thing of guest hosts to fill the void. And so this week, Jeopardy, so LeVar Burton had his episodes, I believe, last week, and then this week, just immediate preceding week, news came out from Sony Television that they're hiring Mike Richards, who apparently is the executive producer of the show right now, to become, and also did a run as well as a guest host, to be the new host of the show. So you know, of course, fandom, especially given that fandom was like, wait, what the hell? You know, we want LeVar. And, you know, and also a lot of people were really lobbying hard for Ken Jennings, who is, you know, who's also had, his tremendous run on the show. But I know his quest to become Jeopardy host may have been derailed due to some problematic political tweets and others. And apparently this Mike Richards guy was named in a harassment lawsuit, I guess about a decade ago. So,
wow.
Yeah. So, you know, that's what happens when you have the guy vetting the guy who's going to replace the guy.
It's just crazy to me that they, knowing what was going on with Trebek, like, a lot of this should have been figured out.
Yeah. They should have had a succession plan for sure. And I think Ken Jennings may have been the succession plan, but I think with, you know, given that when problematic tweets show up and folks are just so eager to pounce on them, I think that's, you know, I think that maybe had knocked him out of front runner. Well, maybe from 1A, 1 to 1B or 1C, you know, as far as potential replacement.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Well, hopefully Jeopardy figures it out, and we'll see if it, like, they do come to a decision and then they rapidly lose ratings, and see how that all unfolds.
Sure.
Another teaser dropped this week for Stranger Things season 4, and the release date. I didn't watch the teaser. What's the release date?
There's none right now.
Oh.
Yeah. It's just the release that they're just confirming that season 4 will drop in sometime in 2022.
Sometimes. So
yeah, but it's
anytime in 2000.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And the teaser really it wasn't much. I mean, it was just another shot of 11, and it was kind of like, okay, yeah, we promise these guys are still teenagers at this rate. And you know, and I thought of you actually when I saw this, and I thought about Mr. Robot, because it's coming up on, when this show finally does return, it'll be probably 2.5 or so years since we had season 3. Because it was, you know, and you know, obviously there was the pandemic and other things, but you know, but they were able to get back into production, and you know, the hope was for it to drop this year. But you know, I just wonder if it's going, you know, when the 4th season finally does drop, the show is kind of like past its like moment.
Interesting. You know, Stranger Things is a little bit different because it's on Netflix, and they release all the episodes in one day at one time. So Netflix will release all the episodes on the same day at the same time. So all of us people who love to binge things can like get it done within a single day, and then be scratching our heads and being like, where's the next season? So I think because of how this show has already been consumed, it is very much a momentary thing where for about a week or so, everyone's talking, have you seen the latest season of Stranger Things? Yeah. I also think that maybe your point won't be proven true, because Stranger Things is known for also never being able to recapture that season 1 magic, where season 2 a lot of people really didn't like, myself included. Right. And then season 3 I remember enjoying a lot because I like a lot of the new characters. But it's still it continued to follow these same beats that we've seen played out again and again and again. So hopefully, because of the amount of time they've had since season 3, they've managed to create another story to tell in this universe that is not so derivative from that original story.
Yeah.
And can like help show these characters growing when currently they kind of feel like they're moving in the same place. They're just like keep walking down the same path, turning around, doing it all over again.
That's a very good point, and I think if they are able to do that, then yeah, I think it'll create the buzz for the series again. But there is something, given in a post-pandemic world, and with some of these properties, and and to your point about the streaming model and the shelf life of these Netflix shows. Yeah. And maybe my Mr. Robot analogy is not the best one, because I mean that really was a kind of a cult status kind of show where it didn't have the broader, mainstream mainstream appeal that a Stranger Things does. But again, 2.5 years, 3 years is a long time. Granted, that happens sometimes with movies too, and it sometimes works to the series' advantage. So. But again, I guess we'll see how things sort of bear out, next year when it finally does get dropped. As far as it's, folks, or is it really in the zeitgeist again, or is it kind of like, oh yeah, just kind of came and just kind of went,
Yeah. Will it almost be able to get reborn?
Yeah.
Or will it just be like, no, this show needs to end?
Yeah.
Let these actors go do other things. They're already doing other things.
Exactly.
This was a moment in time. It's not going further.
Yeah.
Another trailer, and we don't have the trailer for it, but there's all this speculation. And I've actually saw a tweet last night where in my mind, I'm like, wait a second, did a trailer drop? But then I also saw headlines that says that Feige from Marvel is saying that there's not going to be a trailer for No Way Home.
Yeah, I saw that. I think that's bullshit. As
Where's
far as that,
freaking
yeah. Well, no, I saw that tweet. I saw something on YouTube as well, where someone was running with that, and then they went back and then in the comments of their YouTube video, edited meant to say they edited that, and that it was just, again, just sort of mere rumor, because I haven't seen it. Something like that you would expect it to show up in some of the major publications, and I haven't seen any of them, especially, and even with all the stuff still, the ongoing stories about the back and forth between Disney and Scarlett Johansson's camp on the lawsuit, something like that would come, especially given that we had the Venom trailer earlier this week too. So, speaking of the Venom trailer, I just kind of, it was there, and it was just like, okay, let's keep moving on.
That trailer, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen the first one, and I mean, No Way Home, I think that there's gonna be a trailer.
Yeah.
Do I think they need to? Not really.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing about No Way Home, and related to this, because I did come across an article where someone made a point that back in 2019, Sony stepped ahead of Marvel, because remember, Spider-Man still is the they have this worked out arrangement between Marvel Studios and Sony that he's basically on loan to Marvel Studios right now. And back in 2019, when Sony kicked off the advertising campaign for Far From Home before Endgame came out. So it pissed off Marvel, because obviously, it spoiled the fact that, Peter does survive Endgame.
Right.
And so between that, and then of course all the rumors that we have Toby and Andrew Garfield showing up, and of course COVID, they'll go in Delta. Maybe they are just holding back a bit before they release anything, because one, who knows if December 17th is going to hold. I mean, even if they do release it, they may do like what they did with the Venom trailer, which is didn't put a date in the trailer.
Right.
So maybe they're just kind of holding back. And like you said, even though I agree with you, I think we really don't. The movie kind of sells itself, but at the same time, you do want it to, start people to chatter about it as well. So I think
there's no chatter about the movie for the past 2 years.
Yeah, exactly. For sure. Yeah, for sure. So maybe,
speculation.
Yeah. So maybe they're just holding back and they don't want to like confirm the rumors about because I mean, maybe you could cut a trailer without having the other multiverse spider people in it. But who knows?
See, I think if we get a trailer, they're gonna definitely include at least somebody's face, and not what's known, like just to be no, you have to watch this, or you really should, because who knows what else the rumors, what other rumors are true about this movie. So, but and please do not move it to 2022.
No, gosh, no.
I can't continue to talk about speculation regarding this movie for another year.
Yeah, hold firm. I mean, it looks like even with Delta, looks like, Shang-Chi's not going to move, and, we haven't seen anything else move other than, I guess, maybe Miss Marvel will probably move to 2022 for, I guess, now, just because the calendar is just too slammed at this point to drop it. But
they just have so much content. It's a horrible tragedy.
Yeah.
So much to show because they've been holding out on us for so long. But anyways, we'll continue that discussion this Thursday night when we go back to our normal recording time. Instead, we finally get to talk about a DC movie because James Gunn, The Suicide Squad, dropped on HBO Max and in theaters. Now, neither of us have seen the original.
Nope.
I kind of did because I did one of my watches where I'm just like, okay, that scene, fast forward, I don't really care. And then I stopped halfway through because I just couldn't handle it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like, as I'm scanning, and it's like, it's on TNT. Okay. And then I keep on going. Yeah.
So where do we start with this movie? Where do we start?
Well, we could start with, I don't know. I know they were hoping for a good box office this weekend, but it didn't quite materialize. But no one wants to hear that. That's all the money talk and whatnot. But it did underperform what they were hoping it would do. And I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, the box office is funny to me because I streamed it Friday night and freaking buffering on it. Every few minutes it would buffer. And I was talking to a friend who I was watching it with, and we were saying how likely it's because everyone else is streaming.
Yeah.
So I took that as actually a good sign that people are interested in this movie and want to see it, want to be the first one to see it, so they're not spoiled. Yeah. But then again, having watched the movie, if you watch the freaking trailers, a lot of things are spoiled, like the whole Harley side plot and her getting out herself and them failing to rescue her.
Yeah.
It's like I've seen this in the trailers.
Exactly.
It would have been a very different moment had I not seen that in the trailer.
Yeah, that really bothered me, that and I guess I was like, Sarah Belmont, once again, listen to Sarah Belmont, y'all, because Sarah's always right. Don't watch the trailers because you will end up getting spoiled with which normally would have been a very funny moment in the film. I was like, I've already seen this. Yeah.
I mean, they kept doing that kind of thing though. And by the third and fourth time, I was like, okay, we get it, James. We get it. A lot of things are happening. So you're leading us to one point and then saying, ha, 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 8 minutes earlier, 2 hours, 3 days earlier.
Yeah.
And it worked the first time because having seen the trailers, I knew there was this big beach moment, and I will be honest, it caught me off guard when people started dying because I was scratching my head like, wait a second.
Yeah. That did work for me too. It did work. I mean, I remember some of the conversations from DC fandom about which characters are going to make it, which ones aren't, and for it to happen right there at the beginning was smart, and then they pulled the the Arrowverse 8 minutes earlier thing.
Right.
Because I did think, honestly, when I saw that, I was like, this is not I was like, okay, I'm getting Arrowverse vibes here with the Flash vibes in particular, because they do, that's a crutch that series uses a lot as well.
Yeah.
Where they tell the story and then 24 hours before and that kind of thing. I mean, so you're right. That over time throughout the film, when like later in the film, when we got that with the whole sequence with Peacemaker and Colonel Rick Flag, and with fighting over the disc.
Yep.
And then they cut to the back. Yeah, I mean yeah, you're right.
It was a lot. The other thing is, it was funny though watching that sequence because everyone else was dying, and I was like, wait a second, Harley's still alive, and she just gets captured. Why the heck does she just get captured when they would just randomly shoot everyone else? And they explain that later on, but from that moment, I was just thinking in my head, I'm like, is this a dream sequence? Something else is going on.
Yeah,
because this just doesn't make sense in terms of some of these people.
yeah. It does. So I think right before we started recording, yes, we were talking about the film, and I guess to start off, to do a proper start off a conversation, I guess I had mixed feelings about this film. At first I was like, okay, it's pretty good, and it was good. I mean, I thought it was good. I mean, I think I even DM'd you that yesterday whenever we were making final plans for today. But the more I thought about it, I had mixed feelings about this film, and I think just in the few minutes that we've been talking about it, I think what I think we're saying here is it's trying too hard.
Yeah.
Because because the 2016 film, I did go back and look right before we recorded to see again what the tomato thing was, because I know it got panned critically and even the audience score. It was 26% critical and 59% audience. And this time around it's 92% critics and 85% audience. And I'm in that 15% that I'm just like, yeah, y'all, it. And I was talking with a friend of mine about this last night when he hadn't seen it yet. I told him, I was like, I didn't spoil it for him, but at the same time, I was like, I just felt like, I feel like it's a movie that I want to like, and I feel like the crowd is pushing me to like it, but it's just not for me. I don't know. And yeah.
Yeah, I think that last point, you really hit the nail on the hammer. It's like, I want to like this. I think it's arguably a well-made movie.
Yeah.
But it also is just, it's there for one reason or another. It just felt like, okay, I get the gimmick. And then they keep doing the gimmick again and again and again. And I was also kept thinking about, okay, it's James Gunn. So we've seen him do this genre before.
Yeah.
And why did it work so well with Marvel, and for DC it came off really gimmicky, especially from my perspective. And I still don't have an answer for that, because and it's funny because I think, sadly enough, I think this is probably one of the best third acts of a DC film.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. The first act was a good set up, as we discussed. I mean, the beach scene, Amanda Waller and they're recruiting the team and encouraging Bloodsport to using his daughter as a pawn and all those things. I mean, it was great first act. Second act, I was just like, oh fuck, I'm done. I'm just like, where it's just all over the place. The only thing in the second act that stood out for me was the scene in the bar.
Oh, I would say any scene with Sebastian and any scene with Polka Dot Man talking about his mother stood out for me.
Yeah.
It's King Shark. Like, my walking away from this movie, King Shark, Sebastian, and Ratcatcher 2 to an extent really were the heart of this movie.
For sure.
And they were also almost underutilized, especially King Shark. When he was left in the car and they all went to the bar, all I could think about is, okay, what is King Shark going to do to screw this all up?
Yep.
Like, what is going to happen? And then it just felt like, oh, we can't afford the CGI, so we're not going to utilize him. And there was honestly no payoff to him. Well, I guess the scene with the fishes at the end was kind of, and I can go into another point about that later on. But we'll get there with Starro. Yeah. But I felt like they had so much going on. Especially to your point, like that middle section where it was about these characters who were just put together, getting to know each other and what each other can do, and the egos involved with all of that, and then to go back and forth with what was going on with Amanda Waller to what is going on with Harley. Like, Harley was in her own movie.
Yeah.
And that really bothers me, because I know that was some of the criticism from the last movie, that it felt like it was 5 different movies in one. And I still think that they have that problem, because this character, a lot of people like, and a lot of people really just like Margot Robbie playing her. But I'm almost like, she already had her own movie. Why not just continue down that path? Why do you keep bringing her back to the Suicide Squad? Because she just continues to take away time and momentum for these other characters who you're trying to introduce us to and create this family. She didn't remember Milton.
She forgot about Milton. Yeah, I agree with you. I felt, and I agree that I know James is trying to make amends for some of the problems, but honestly, as far as my Harley Quinns, I love Kaylee better as far as the animated series version of that character than I do the live action.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew it.
I felt like you that this character really distracted from the other points in the film, and I know people are going to probably like torch us for saying that, but I agree with you. Every time I was just like, I honestly felt the urge sometimes, like, let me just fast forward through this, because it's like, and again, I am biased. I do like the animated version of that we saw, and better than Margot Robbie, but to each his own.
Yeah, to each their own. Bloodsport and Peacemaker. Idris did a great job in this movie, and I was very surprised by the chemistry that him and John Cena had. I almost, the first part, I was kind of cringing when they first introduced him, because I'm just like, okay, you're trying to make a point that this is uncannily similar to what they did with Deadshot during the first movie. And so it was just cringing. And then once they got to the island and he got to play off of John Cena, I was like, okay, I'm starting to like this character better. I love that he's afraid of rats, and yet Ratcatcher is part of the crew. I was very surprised by that. And I love that bonding. However, it did get a bit like melodramatic when she's talking about her father and them having this weird connection to as like a replacement father / daughter thing going on. But I thought it was funny how, as the movie continued, this, just like what we're talking about with Harley, Peacemaker almost became like, okay, you already know we are doing a whole series around Peacemaker, so we're just going to continue to show why we love this character and why you should too, so that you'll be interested to see what happens to him during the series.
Yeah. I actually like Peacemaker and Cena. I mean, as I was watching that, I couldn't help but draw comparisons to The Rock, as far as for those people who like cross over from one industry to another, whether it's from music to acting or wrestling, which wrestling, there is a lot of acting that goes on in professional wrestling, and seeing how, some of those people, some of those folks who are in the ring carrying over to acting, and really, when you think about The Rock, you think about Batista, you think about Cena. I mean, these three actors and performers, they have that larger than life personality that no matter what they do, they're going to excel at. And Cena, what I really liked about this, he did show the nuances of Peacemaker in this, which like you said, which is great, because it definitely sets up the series, beyond, spoiler alert, the post-credit scene. But also, I think about some other things I've seen him in. I mean, he hosts a kid game show on like Nickelodeon and some other things as well. I mean, he's just that larger than life personality, and I thought that came through, but also showed some of the nuances, and especially as you noted, how when he played off of Bloodsport, of this particular character, and then also the fight between Flag and Peacemaker.
Yeah. That was an interesting thing too that ended up happening, where unfortunately there wasn't a lot of bonding between Rick Flag and Peacemaker leading up to that. However, you clearly understood why they were fighting, both of their motivations, and I thought it really added to why at the end of the day Peacemaker is a villain. And I like that angle and that twist to it. I almost wish that Rick Flag had been with Team 2 from the beginning, to get more back and forth between these three characters, considering what happens, and see another. It's almost like, oh, okay, I see where you're going. This is interesting. This is different. Was not expecting it. And then they do the whole thing. Oh, Bloodsport kills Peacemaker. No, he didn't.
Yeah.
he literally got shot in the throat and had a building collapse on him, but he's still alive. And yet my polka dot man is not still alive. Are you kidding me?
Exactly.
Are you kidding me? No, I get why Polka Dot Man had to die in that moment, because he essentially fulfilled his pathos, where he did, and for one moment got to be a superhero, which is how he came of existence, due to his mom being a whack job. But Will, I do have a question for you though.
Sure.
When will we get the cut of this movie that is from Polka Dot Man's perspective, like the entire movie? And I feel really bad for that actress, by the way.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I do feel bad for her. She's definitely gonna show up in a meme. Yeah. There's a lot of memeable, and gifable moments that Polka Dot Man's mom's going to show up in. We'll get that. So that'll be. Let's see. James he's working on Peacemaker 2. So I guess that's Peacemaker. So I think that is coming to conclusion soon. I think they got the already Christmas special. We'll get the Polka Dot cut. I'll say next summer. I'm
just saying, if this was Marvel, Marvel would have already shot a few scenes with that. Think about the Zemo thing that happened with Falcon Winter Soldier. I mean, think
yeah,
about
totally.
strategy.
Well, I guess the bar scene would be the one of the ones that did the polka dot cut. But then of course but then they'll be like, come on, Marvel already did it, and I guess that's the problem. I mean, I mean, it's too bad that I will say it's too bad that the Warner team that does the social for Titans and Doom Patrol didn't get a handle on this, because they have some good back and forth and have some good Marvel-esque banter and cuts that they do over there. But yeah, I would love a polka dot cut, and I really, David Bashklin, I think is right. Yeah, he's another amazing actor. Just when you think about all the various things he's done, I mean, when you think going back to The Dark Knight, and showing up in The Flash, and of course Ant-Man, and now it's Polka Dot Man. You're right. I mean, it's the character did satisfy his arc, and it's too bad that we couldn't get more. But I would have loved to have more Polka Dot Man and a little bit less Harley.
Yeah, more. Yeah,
and even more Rick Flag. I mean, I thought Joel Kinnaman I was pissed. I was one of the things I was pissed as far as like some of the characters who did get off in the film. I was like, damn it! I would have loved to see more Rick Flag, because I did, especially. I think the differences from what I've heard about the character in the first film and this being loose sequel of that film, and seeing the evolution of that character, and also I think Rick is very deep in the comics right now too, with the current storyline of the current book of Suicide Squad. I thought what they did with Rick's character, and especially playing off of Bloodsport and Peacemaker, it would have been great to sort of see that through to potentially another film. Right.
And that's another thing that just bothered me, is that we know Rick Flag and Harley were in the previous film, and yet the timelines were it was very confusing to me. I'm like, okay, so they clearly know each other, but they're just not going to talk about the other stuff that went down. No one's going to talk about how this isn't Harley's first suicide mission. What is happening? But and because she clearly references some of the stuff that goes on in her own movie. That's motivation to do some things.
Exactly. And even I think obliquely, I think there were some references to the first film. So, but
what is your take on Ratcatcher 2?
I really like that character. I had seen, leading into to my watching of this film, a lot of the critics and non-spoiler reviews I read, the people that the three characters, as you noted as well, that stood out to them were King Shark, Ratcatcher 2, and I guess Ratcatcher 2 / Sebastian. Or were the characters that stood out, and of course Harley, because everybody that's just part of the baked into the DNA at this point. But and actually Ratcatcher 2 was a character created unique to this film. It's not a character based in the comic. And,
well, I agree. They did a good job with her. She really added some. They used her in a way where we were able to gain more insight about the motivations and where all of these people come from, and what brought them to the squad, and what is missing. And I also really like this idea that she can control rats, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Suicide Squad is controlled by Amanda Waller.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, we have Starro, who's this alien thing that basically is feeding on the subconsciousness of people and it's growing, and this act of control, that so they like I like how they're, with her character specifically, they're able to use this idea of controlling other things for your own purposes, and when it is an abuse of power versus when it's not.
Yeah.
Because she clearly has her favorite. For some reason, Sebastian gets to like a little vest. I'm just saying. If I was another rat, I would be like, "What the heck, Sebastian? Why do you go in the mouse? What like vest? Where's my vest?" But I like how they were able to explain that about her power, and then just this idea of that, well, they're all being controlled by Amanda, and then we have Starro and everything that happens with Starro, who gives that great line when he's finally killed, is that I was so happy staring at the stars, because again, he was a quote unquote harmless creature that was just floating in the space, and then the governments got a hold of him and started to conduct the experiments and manipulate the things, and before you know it, he's just like, okay, I'm gonna kill y'all because you're poking and prodding me.
Yeah. I love the way you set that up, because I think that's why this film gave me mixed feelings, because that, and I think you really honed in why that third act worked so well, because that element of control, and especially when you juxtapose Amanda's control whenever they all were trying to save the people of Corto Maltese.
Yeah.
And Ratcatcher 2 using the rats to save those people. I think, and I guess I kind of got lost in the jumble of the story in the second act, or the end of the first act, with the Cabal and the Corto Maltese and the Thinker, utilizing Starro again, their means of control, trying to basically use Starro to, we're going to control the world because we're going to bring the United States and China and all the superpowers to their knees, because we have this alien creature that we are going to use. We're going to exploit that, right, to our will. So you do have that. I guess that's the one of those underlying themes that I think does work in this film. That where I think James Gunn is a great storyteller in that regard, of really exploring, utilizing these various pieces on the board to tell the story about, if you're given this power, whatever power it is, how will you use it? And
right, or even just how these are villains, but they're still being controlled, where Amanda Waller's mission was to get the files and to quote unquote keep the peace by not having America get a hold of that notion that not only did they capture Starro, but they experimented on children, on people who had no choice in the matter, and then all of a sudden a starfish is attached to their face and their corpse, they're dead. So they killed all of these people essentially by doing this. And so it's this. So that was her mission. And yet when the villains figured it out, they took that information, they finished, but they couldn't. They had to finish the job, which was really taking out Starro to make sure that more people don't die, which is a very heroic thing. So I like that idea that they figured out a way to not make it unreasonable or just out of character for the individuals to be like, this is a fucked up situation.
Yeah.
And we've come this far, so we have to keep going. And luckily, there was so much back and forth throughout the film with the people in the office that they also helped save the day when they knocked out Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
Preventing her from doing using any of the kill switches.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that really, I can't really add more to that. I think you really summed it up pretty well there.
Yeah, and I just have to say, guys, I mean, the number of times I was just yelling, "Go for the freaking eye!"
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, stop taking
Yeah,
out the legs. Go for the
go
eye.
for the eye. You got that stupid javelin, which we finally got to use. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just waiting for him. Like, go for the eye. And why are
Yeah.
you throwing polka dots at the LA? Go for the eye.
Yeah.
Go for the eye. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I will say. Yeah, I will say, just from a visual and visceral moment. All the stars like flying on people's faces did kind of creep me out, I have to say. I was like, I'm actually glad I'm watching this on a small screen instead of a big screen. I'm gonna have nightmares from this. I think I did actually.
Yeah, I was too distracted by like Ratcatcher made sense to me because she already has had that mask. And then everybody else, like Harley just covering her eyes with her oval. I'm like, really?
Really? Yeah. 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 And then I was like, well, Bloodsport, you have this helmet thing. Why aren't you like using it again? It's just like, yeah. But
that helmet drove me crazy because all I could think about was Alien and there was no joke about it. Are you kidding?
Yeah, true. James, you missed it. Maybe that one ended up on the cutting room floor. Maybe it was like, that's too on the nose.
Yes. Well,
maybe that'll show up in the
other on the nose things.
Yeah, true.
All right. Any other last minute thoughts about the Suicide Squad?
No, I think the last thing I will say with this film is I think the DCEU films, they're finding their footing. They have they are. I guess this was kind of a last tie to the Snyder Cut in a sense because you do have some of the characters from it, but I think it's a mixed bag. I mean, the things that it does well, I think as we discussed, it does it very, very well. But I think it's hamstrung for me as a viewer because I feel like it's just trying too hard.
Yeah, trying too hard. I'm not really sure where it fits in the universe.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure where the stories of these characters fit in terms of the universe anymore. So it's hard for me to want to see more where I'm still unclear to me about where it's going, what to expect. But it oddly enough, it's a well-made movie.
Yeah.
Who knows? It might get an Oscar. The first one did. So.
Yep.
Never. On that note, Will, why don't you tell our listeners where they can find you?
Yes, you can find me at Will M. Polk, WILLMPOLK.
And you can follow me on Twitter at SJ Belmont, SJBELMONT. Please follow our crew on Twitter at CNN Nerd. Friend us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. But most importantly, rate, follow, and comment on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Good night, Geek Out. You're welcome.